Adam Robert Corden Britton was born in the United Kingdom in 1971. From a young age, he showed a deep interest in animals, particularly crocodiles. This interest led him to pursue higher studies in zoology, an area in which he would eventually excel. He completed his education in the UK, obtaining a PhD in zoology from the University of Bristol. During his academic time, he was recognized for his ability to work with reptiles, and his research caught the attention of other scientists in the field. His reputation as a promising crocodile expert quickly grew in academic circles. In 1996, Britton moved to Australia, specifically to the Northern Territory region. This area, known for its abundant wildlife and crocodiles, provided the ideal environment for Britton to develop his career. He joined Charles Darwin University as a senior researcher, specializing in the study of the saltwater crocodile. His work positioned him as one of the leading experts on the species internationally. In 2005, Britton founded Big Gecko, a consultancy focused on crocodile research and conservation. Through this company, he not only offered scientific research services, but also participated in various documentaries and media projects. It was during this time that he collaborated with David Attenborough on the BBC series Life in Cold Blood, where his expertise in crocodiles was highlighted. His life seemed completely dedicated to the conservation and study of wildlife, earning him an impeccable reputation in the academic and scientific community. But, despite his public success, he maintained a secret life plagued by atrocious acts, which would eventually lead him to ruin. Adam Britton began his descent into crime in 2014, when his sadistic interests toward animals began to materialize. Although there are no detailed records of his early signs of deviant behavior, subsequent investigations revealed that these impulses had accompanied him since childhood, but he had suppressed them for much of his life. Starting in 2014, Britton acquired his first dogs, Ursa and Bolt, two Swiss shepherds, whom he began to sexually abuse. These dogs were the first known victims, although he still maintained an impeccable public facade as an academic and crocodile expert. Between 2020 and 2022, Britton expanded his sadistic acts, purchasing additional dogs from sites like Gumtree, and using various excuses to obtain them. Britton searched for dogs online, particularly on adoption and sales websites, where he contacted owners and promised them a suitable home. The owners, often people who could no longer care for their pets due to work commitments or travel, trusted Britton because of his reputation as a scientist and animal lover. Between November 2020 and April 2022, he managed to acquire at least 42 dogs, most of which ended up being victims of his brutal abuse. These acts included not only sexual abuse, but also torture and murder. Britton recorded the horrific acts and shared the videos on online forums under pseudonyms, where he interacted with other users with similar interests. His videos displayed scenes of torture and suffering of the animals, and Britton, on multiple occasions, referred to the dogs as sex toys in online messages. The investigation that led to Adam Britton's arrest was called Operation Hayne. This effort began in March 2022, when an anonymous user on an online forum identified a key detail in one of the animal abuse videos Britton was sharing. The video showed a dog leash, with a distinctive local council tag from Darwin in the Northern Territory, which provided authorities with a starting point to track down the identity of the person behind the videos. Upon receiving this anonymous report, local authorities focused on tracking Britton's possible location and began gathering evidence regarding his online activity. Operation Hayne was led by the Northern Territory Police in conjunction with cybercrime units, as Britton was using forums and encrypted platforms like Telegram to share his videos and communicate with other perpetrators. The investigation process included collaboration with cybercrime experts, who tracked Britton's activity on various bestiality forums. He used pseudonyms to conceal his identity, while sharing explicit images and videos of torture and sexual abuse of dogs, often accompanied by graphic descriptions of his acts. Britton actively participated in discussions within these forums, facilitating the collection of further evidence regarding his involvement. In April 2022, after gathering sufficient digital evidence and connecting the details of the videos to Britton's address in McMinn's Lagoon, police obtained a search warrant to search his property. During the raid, authorities discovered a horrifying scene. In his home, Britton had converted a shipping container into a torture chamber, equipped with tools designed to inflict suffering on animals. Cameras, remains of dismembered dogs, and electronic devices filled with videos of the abuses Britton recorded and shared were found. Britton's torture chamber was equipped with tools designed to inflict suffering. In some cases, Britton dismembered the dogs while they were still alive, causing extreme pain. Autopsies performed on some of the dogs revealed injuries consistent with prolonged torture before death. In some of the videos shared by Britton, it was observed that he attempted to suffocate the dogs in various ways, prolonging their agony before killing them. Britton edited the videos of the torture acts, sometimes slowing them down or modifying them to make them more visually shocking, before sharing them on bestiality and torture forums. These videos included not only sexual abuse and physical torture, but also the subsequent deaths of the animals. After physically and sexually torturing them, Britton killed the dogs. In many cases, the animals were left to suffer slowly from their injuries. Some died from suffocation, others due to deliberately inflicted wounds, and in some cases, the dogs were dismembered or mutilated until they succumbed to their injuries. Of the 42 dogs that Britton acquired between 2020 and 2022, at least 39 died under his care. In addition to the physical evidence at the crime scene, child abuse files were found on his devices, further aggravating the charges against him. Authorities also recovered conversations that Britton had with other users on the forums, in which he detailed his crimes and expressed his desire to continue abusing more animals. On April 22, 2022, Adam Britton was immediately arrested following the search of his property in McMinn's Lagoon. During the arrest, Britton was confronted with the evidence accumulated by investigators, including the videos and evidence found on the electronic devices that were confiscated from him. At that time, Britton admitted to the facts and was taken to the police station, where he was charged with animal cruelty, sexual abuse of animals, and possession of child abuse material. Britton cooperated with authorities after his arrest, and during the interrogation, he provided details about the extent of his crimes. His confession included how he had begun sexually abusing his own dogs in 2014, and how he had acquired more than 40 dogs between 2020 and 2022, of which he abused and killed. In the early hearings of his trials, compelling evidence was presented, including the videos he had recorded of his acts of torture and the remains of the animals found on his property. It is said that during instances when the videos were played in court, the judge would request to clear the room, due to the macabre nature of the videos, as they could psychologically affect those present. Such were the disturbing nature of the videos that Adam recorded. The case was brought before the Supreme Court of the Northern Territory, where he faced dozens of charges related to extreme animal abuse. Britton initially did not contest most of the evidence presented, which led the proceedings to advance relatively quickly in its early stages. During the first trial, prosecutors presented recordings and conversations from the online forums, where Britton discussed his crimes with other individuals who shared similar interests. In October 2023, Adam Britton pleaded guilty to 60 charges of animal cruelty, sexual abuse of animals, and possession of child abuse material. Britton's confession was shocking, not only due to the number of charges, but also because he himself detailed the extreme nature of his crimes during the hearings. His statements made it clear that he had brutally tortured 39 dogs between 2014 and 2022, using their bodies to satisfy his sadistic desires. The prosecution presented over 15 hours of videos and online conversations that Britton had with other users on bestiality forums. The evidence included meticulous documentation of each dog he acquired over the years, showing a pattern of systematic and premeditated abuse. Prosecutors also argued that Britton took pleasure in the prolonged suffering of the animals, evidencing sadistic and calculating behavior. As the trial progressed, the impact of the evidence presented left a deep impression on the jury and observers of the case. Britton's defense attempted to argue that his behavior was the result of deep mental disturbance, but this was quickly rebutted by prosecutors, who pointed out that his success as an academic and his seemingly normal public life indicated an individual fully capable of controlling his impulses. The court concluded that Britton was fully aware of his actions and had acted deliberately to satisfy his darkest desires. On August 8, 2024, Adam Britton was sentenced to 10 years and 5 months in prison, with a minimum period of 6 years without the possibility of parole. The sentence was handed down by Judge Michael Grant of the Supreme Court of the Northern Territory, who described Britton's crimes as grotesque, depraved, and inconceivable. The judge expressed that Britton's acts fell outside any normal human understanding, given the extreme nature of the abuses committed against 42 dogs between 2020 and 2022. In addition to the prison sentence, Britton was banned for life from owning animals. The sentence imposed on Adam Britton generated strong controversy in public opinion, with many animal rights activists and citizens expressing their discontent. The severity of his crimes led many to consider the sentence excessively lenient and not proportional to the suffering he inflicted on the animals. Numerous animal rights advocacy groups argued that Britton should have faced a longer and harsher sentence, pointing out that his acts of extreme cruelty deserved exemplary punishment. The premeditated nature of his crimes, as well as his use of online platforms to share his abuses, led many to question the effectiveness of the judicial system in protecting animals. The general perception was that the punishment did not reflect the severity of the acts committed. At 53 years old, Adam Britton could be released in just 6 years. It is difficult to understand how a person who has tortured and abused so many animals could have the possibility of reintegrating into society. The idea that he could continue satisfying his dark desires, enjoying a life of freedom after inflicting such suffering, is chilling.